Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to another episode of Trudge Report. We are a recovery-based podcast. My name is Sean and I am your host. I'm joined by my good friends and fellow trudgers. Please remember to listen on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Videos will be posted each week so you can watch episodes on YouTube and Facebook. But as always, please be sure to download on your listening platforms. Remember to like and subscribe on all social media outlets with the handle at Trudge Report Pod. This podcast is brought to you by Stella Mix Podcast Management. Gentlemen, good evening. Happy recording day, which is Easter Sunday, April 5th. The sun has risen. It's Resurrection Day.
Happy Keister.
Hope everybody's doing all right.
Oh, man.
We'll start with you, Greg. How are you?
Doing well, man. Doing well. I'm just coming out of a food coma.
Nice.
I packed a lot in today, dude. Church breakfast. So we went to church this morning. They had the breakfast before the church. I think that was a big mistake. But yeah, potluck style. I went in there just hammering them. They had no idea what hit them when I was done with them.
Like a ginger tidal wave just coming through that bad boy.
Yeah, I think it might be the last time I'm invited to one of those functions, but it's fine.
No,
Is he here yet?
Hey,
lock the doors.
In the Lord's house, you're always welcome, Greg.
That's right. No, it was nice and a good service today. And just spent day with family and enjoyed ourselves. Big shout out to Peyton yesterday. He caught a game-winning interception.
Nice.
Football game. So seal the deal. Yeah. They whooped out on them boys, beat them like 36-0. So
they probably could beat the Eagles.
They might.
Greg, very important question here real quick. What was the celebration?
He was humble with it. I think he was just really excited. He didn't no dancing, no nothing. He just
blacked out.
Spiked it out, and he was pumped. They got 2 pick sixes in that game, and the coach, because I guess last year, this is a new team for Peyton, but last year the coach, they were so bad that originally it was promised that the coach would buy ice cream if they won a game. Well, they didn't win any, and they were so terrible. So the coach was like, "Well, if you get an interception, we'll get ice cream." So now he's gonna owe double ice creams.
Nice.
But
That's
nice.
sick, dude.
yeah, man, good to see. Good to see. But yeah, other than that, good week.
Awesome. Danny P, I know you're riding high, my brother.
Yes, sir. We're
riding
ready.
high.
We're riding high, man. The UConn Huskies, baby. Just everyone count them out. I love it, man. Keep counting them out. They're going to get beat by 20 tomorrow.
I was just going to say, congratulations. You get to play Michigan, the absolute juggernaut.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. Hey, dude, I'm taking the same approach in that game that I did against Duke. Stay in contact to the last 10 minutes, and we're there. You know,
you can't win the big one. You can't win the big one if you don't get to the big one. Yeah. So let's go.
So what do you think they got to do?
I think they just got to prevent them from
the game.
Yeah, my keys to the game is no fast breaks. They just got to get back on defense. If they make them play a half court offensive game, they'll be in the game the whole entire game.
Yeah, they got to lock down on defense. And the one
Terrence
thing,
Reed has to have a big game, dude.
Yeah.
Mara went off last night. He was an absolute handful.
UConn is actually statistically, I was reading about it. They're the worst team, or one of the worst teams in all of the NCAA for sending guys to the free throw line and then not getting to the free throw line themselves. So I think that's a huge key in a championship game. So
I think you guys need to be really good from the 3-point line too.
Yeah. I think, honestly. I think the real key, Michigan's, I think top 5 or top 10 in pace of play. UConn's 313th or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's really that's the biggest thing in the world is Arizona. Why they got throttled is because they tried to run with Michigan. Yeah, and you just can't do that, man.
Michigan's been putting up NBA numbers.
Yeah, they're going to smoke you.
Insane.
Wow.
Yeah. Purdue beat them in the Big Ten championship. I'm pretty sure it was under 70 points for both of them. That's why pace of play is everything. But what were you going to say? Go ahead.
They handled Illinois is a big team, and they got the 2 brothers that are over 7 feet. They handled the size of Illinois pretty well yesterday. I think.
I'm honestly not worried about Reed against Mara, man, because he handles length fine. He doesn't handle strength. Right. Mara is not strength. He's
right. He's skinny. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm really my concern is Lindenberg because we have the guards to match their guards. Demery is way bigger than Kondo, and he's a really good defender. He could lock him up. Mullins, and who's their second guard on Michigan? What I think he's
Cadeau.
like
Elliot Cadeau.
no, the other one. Who's their second guard? 6'5". I forgot his name.
I can't
but,
think of it right
yeah,
now.
but Mullins can guard him. But then you have
McCain, maybe? No,
yeah,
McCain.
McKinney or something like that.
McKinney. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Lindenborg would be against Ball, and that's the problem. You know, because Johnson would be in Caravan. That's 6'9" versus 6'9". I'm not really worried about that. But I mean, really, I think Jaden Ross is going to have to play a huge game, and he's going to have to get a lot of minutes because Solo Ball was in a walking boot, so he might not even play. He was in a walking boot after the game. Yeah. But dude, I mean, if they try to,
you're there, bro. You're there.
Yeah.
Anything can happen. Truly. I mean, Michigan's going to be probably. I don't think it's going to be double-digit favorite. Do you think?
No, 8 points right now. I think or 7.5.
Okay, that's significant. But but they're there. You can't win it unless you get there, and you got to get there. So
and they have the. I've been there. You know what I mean? They have the experience, and right. I mean, I knew Illinois. I mean, I told you before. Brad Underwood stinks.
Yeah, you weren't worried about that at all.
No, because they didn't. There was no adjustments. They had one assist in I think like the first 30 minutes of the game. They just went one-on-one basketball, and there was no reason for it because they could have shot threes and moved the ball around, and they made 0 adjustments the whole entire game. That game got down to 4 points, but it really was never close. You know, like they were on top of it.
Yeah.
But enough. Good we don't stuff. Have to go. Yeah, we don't have to go full NCAA here.
I know. I know you're pumped. I get it.
Yeah.
How was Easter? What'd you do for Easter?
Yeah. Easter was good, man. You know, we almost got caught out, man. We're freaking packing the eggs. I was packing the eggs this morning. It was a little sketchy.
Oh, you almost got caught.
Yeah.
Mm. We got found out last night, but actually we didn't even get the opportunity to start putting it out. I was putting him to bed. I was reading to him, and he goes, I'm like, all right, buddy, gotta get to bed, gotta wake up for church early tomorrow. And he goes, yeah, you guys have fun putting all that Easter stuff up. I'm like, oh, you got
I know, man, yeah, I know. You feel so caught out when they say it, man. Yeah.
I'm proud to report that it's still intact in our household.
Yeah, we're still good, but it was close. But I sneak out to the garage. It was close, but we made it through.
A little pivot.
Yeah. But nice. So we did that, and then we went. We had lunch at Longhorn Steakhouse. That was nice with all of us. Always
traditional Easter dinner. Nice, I liked it.
It's I mean, that place never lets you down. I mean, it really doesn't. I love that place. And then we had softball practice for about 2 hours, and then we came home here, and it was a balmy 40 degrees, 35 degrees at softball practice. So that was fun. But yeah, otherwise everything's good. We're prepped. We're ready. Monday night. Let's go, baby.
He's pumped up, dude. He's so pumped up. Good stuff, man. Corey, what's going up on in your neck of the woods over there, buddy?
You guys just fucking talked Chinese for 5 minutes.
You see my eyes, bro?
We've tried to usher you into college basketball. We'll explain it to you, bro. We'll give you the lowdown. You just refuse to be a part of, Corey. I don't know what else to tell you. It's exciting. Although I will say last night's games weren't really that exciting, but it's exciting.
Yeah. You know what's exciting?
What's that, buddy?
The Flyers just put themselves in the playoff picture for the first time in fucking 5 years tonight.
I saw that too. That's awesome.
Oh my God.
See, I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
For how much you love hockey.
Yes. I'm happy for Gregory because the Indians are on a heater.
Dude, that DeLauder's a real deal.
He's a real deal, man.
Yo,
real deal.
Can we call it a heater quite this early in the season?
I would say so because of the expectations of this guy. You know what I mean? Also, it came out of nowhere, man. And he's riding them, and they're riding the wave.
The AL Central's wide open this year.
We just totally stole Corey's round home.
I'm not going to get any more in it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Hi, Corey.
Our last listener just signed off.
Was he talking about soccer?
There he goes. They said, well, said I was going to smoke crack, and I found this recovery podcast to try and help me with that, but now I'm just going to smoke crack. That's what they said just now. That's what just happened.
And join up and go to Iran.
Yeah, and list and go to Iran.
How was Easter, Corey?
It was great. It was really good. And
glad to hear it.
Blink twice if you're okay.
Yeah. I'm so grateful for all the things in my life.
As you should be.
Yeah. I'm very full. I identify with the food coma. I'm in that state right now. We had a 4-course meal. God, just so much food. So good for that. And church today was really good too. Really good service.
Good.
Yeah, all is well. But the best part is the Flyers getting in the playoff picture. They're not clinched or anything, but it's good to see. They're playing so good.
There's hope. That's all we want in our sports teams is hope. We want something to root for.
I was saying that to my dad earlier. I was like, for the last like 5 years, the Flyers, like, you couldn't even hope. Like, I don't need a Stanley Cup. I mean, I would love to see that more than anything. The last time they won a Stanley Cup was 50 years ago. 51 years ago, I think. Wow. So I didn't see it, obviously. My dad did.
double your life.
Yeah, pretty much. But like, I know you guys can identify with this probably. I just want to see hope. Because honestly, like, I love seeing the Eagles win the Super Bowl, but there will be nothing, as far as sports go, there will be nothing like a Flyers Stanley Cup one day. But for now, I just want the hope of a good playoff run. If they manage to get in the playoffs and they lose in like the second round, I will be happy, and I will probably still bitch, but I will be happy. So that's what I want. They're putting it together. So
good.
We'll see. That's my highlight, and whatever, guys. Whatever. Let's just.
Would you go if they made the Stanley Cup?
No. For lack of finances, I wouldn't. But otherwise, yes.
All right. We might have to get together on this, boys. If
that's when you have to like call into a radio show and like try to win.
I would try.
No, we will work. We will work something, bro.
Enter all the sweepstakes you can. Radio shows.
But the problem is, like, so if they won like the first 3 games, they could take it in game 4, 5, or 6, right? Or 5, 6, or 7. You know what I mean? It's the best of 7 series, so it's not like you're going to the big game unless it's game 7.
But
then
dude,
someone's got to take it.
I will tell you I think I'm the only one here that has experienced the utmost of my sports teams in the arena of being there and seeing them lose and win. The experience, win or lose, is next level, dude. You know what I mean? It just doesn't matter, win or lose, big game, small game. It doesn't it just really is like something that you've never ever felt before. The experience, the camaraderie, especially at your home stadium and all those things, man. It's just like, it really is next level, and I think you deserve to experience.
Well, I would definitely want to bring my dad, if you know what I mean. If that were to, I mean, it's like so out of the realm.
I'll come then if your dad's coming.
Yeah, let's go. I would go as far as selling pictures of my feet. That's how far I would go. I'll do it, Sean.
No, I listen. I'm, no matter how far down the scale we have gone, right?
There's got to be some like weird people that are into like
Hobbit. Totally.
You can like dress 100%. Them up like they're in the Shire somewhere, and
that's what I'm saying. 100%. I think that could, there's a market for that.
So there's a market cranking his hog to it for sure.
So
there's a market where they call each other kin. That's where that market's at. Hey, my kin.
Where's that?
All kinds of places. All kinds of places.
What else happened this week, guys?
Let it rip, Corey. Let's go. Let it rip.
I don't know, man. I could make this whole chat real fucking negative for the next 45 minutes.
Oh, I love it. Let's do it. Do it. I want it. I want it.
I can't. Sean will
and
call me
stay tuned for some extra content on our YouTube channel, ladies and gentlemen.
That was the best segue ever.
Corey's going to have a monologue. One of these burn after reading kind of monologues.
It's slam poetry.
I could mother.
I want everybody to know that I had a get together at my house last night to watch the Final Four, and Corey was invited, and he did not attend, and that's fine. That's fine. I just want it to be noted that he was invited. That's all. There's been a lot of talk on this podcast over the years about Corey not getting invited places. And it's not from you, Dan, and it's not from you, Greg, and it wasn't from our previous co-host, Bill. So you do the math on who it was. But he was invited. And he respectfully declined. I have to give him that.
Those were my words. I had something. Sean, you have no idea how many times I type out a message and delete it.
Oh, I believe it. I do this. Hey, you want to know something else?
The bubble master.
I do the same thing a lot. That's that whole pause thing comes into play.
That's called, that's good sobriety. That's what that's called.
It's like, wait, do I really want to get this conversation started? Nah, delete.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
You should see the customers.
Because it never goes the way it's like, it never actually goes the way I think it's going to go in my mind. In my mind, it's like, oh, this is a quick hitter, little jab. It's going to he's going to, oh, of course. And then it's like, no, it's not going to go that way. But that's it. What else? Anything else anybody wants to talk about around the horn before we get into it?
I don't know, man.
So we'll take that as a no, and we'll move right into, hey, okay, guys, I want to talk about something tonight that we haven't really talked about on this podcast yet. I don't think we might have touched on it a little bit.
Sean, did you tell us about your Easter?
Oh yeah, I always forget to do that. Yes,
you always do. You just always go.
I don't know. I just yeah. My Easter was fantastic. The girls got their Easter baskets this morning. They were hidden. The Easter Bunny hid them. Had a long talk with Grace last night and today about she was curious to know if like the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy, if they communicate, and like who's in charge.
They're on the legendary council.
Well, right. I explained that to her. She thought Santa Claus was in charge. And I was like, well, actually, he's high up. I was actually, God's still in charge, Grace. Like, God is the end all be all. But yes, but the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, Santa Claus, they all communicate with each other. They all communicate with God. Like, they're all in the loop together, not to worry. She was worried about her Easter baskets and if they were going to get to the proper place. So that was a fun conversation. And like I said, it's still, the magic is still alive and well in the McDonald household for all holidays, which is nice.
Isn't it so cute? Like,
it's adorable.
Their little worries and
it's adorable
thoughts and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, man, one day you're going to worry about paying bills and that's just going to suck.
Yeah. Like lying is a national pastime. It's hysterical. It's so funny.
It's crazy. And there's probably parents out there be like, you shouldn't lie to your kids. Like, you got to tell them the truth.
Just straight throttle them. Yeah. Right in the face. Raw eggs right up your nose.
But other than that, it was good. So that was this morning. I played some golf with my dad and a couple friends early this morning. And then we went to my cousin's house down in Delray Beach, down south. Had a wonderful time. They had a wonderful spread of food. Talking about the food coma. Check this out. A strawberry cream cheese pie.
Ooh.
Not a cheesecake. Oh, it was phenomenal. Greg, don't give me that face. It's the same color. The pie was the same color as your face and your hair. It was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Not a cake, not a cheesecake, but a cream cheese pie. Phenomenal. But they had a great array of food. We did an Easter egg hunt there at their house for the kids and all that stuff. And yeah, good Easter, man.
Just a question.
Easter. Sure.
This is probably a fucking terrible way to with this podcast.
Okay.
I'm not questioning any.
I'm intrigued now.
Particular religion. I'm sorry. This is such a tangent.
That's okay.
All right.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Easter. Okay. The whole thing is based on how Jesus died for our sins, right?
Yes.
And I'm not questioning the validity of that. So I don't want anybody to get all upset that listens.
Okay. Somebody's going to regardless, but that's all right.
I got to ask questions. Sean told me years ago, keep asking questions. That's called seeking.
I agree.
All right, he died for our sins. Why? You ever think, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sitting in church today and it's very moving and everything. And I don't know where I'm at with organized religion at all, but I do enjoy going to church and I get a lot out of it. But I was sitting there for a moment and, the pastor was saying, Jesus died the death that we should have died, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it just popped in my head. I'm like, why? Like, why would God have this demonstration on earth at that particular time? Am I just thinking too much into it? Am I thinking too much? Is that the big question anyway about Christianity?
No, I mean, this did take a turn. So the short answer to your question is I don't know. I don't know why it had to be that way. I do think though that in most biblical teachers, it is a spiritual death. Like, I know in the Bible very specifically, he literally died on the cross, but I think the lesson is a spiritual death. Like, we have to die spiritually to be born again, not dissimilar to how all of us had to get sober, and maybe not
Right.
as obviously not as drastic, but I do think that's like that's like the lesson for us here on Earth. But I don't really know why it had to be that way. Maybe if nothing else, maybe the world's historical greatest shock effect ever, like
Yeah. It, I mean, I appreciate what you just said because you kind of took the trash I just gave you and made it into something which was really good. Because you're right about that. Like, we do have to kind of like our flesh has to die, kind of. You know what I mean?
and kind of the most like the biggest sacrifice one could make would be to be put to death. You know, again, I think it's more. I don't know. There's probably some people listening to this that would say it's very specific and very literal. I think it's more symbolic in a lot of ways. But I also believe that Jesus died for us as well. But yeah, I don't really have the good answer for you there, buddy.
I know it's a weird spot, and you
Mhm.
guys, and this is, I guess, this is where we can kind of turn it into something too, because like most of us, I would think, were taught when we got sober that like we could believe in whatever conception of God we wanted. Really, it's just the willingness to believe our greater selves that our beginning in the spiritual way of life, and we obviously cultivated it, right? Like we've all stayed sober a healthy length of time,
Hmm.
um, by no credit of our own. So like we all know, at least I think we all feel that there is something greater than ourselves. So
Absolutely.
that's when there's like it's obviously not a bridge that you have to cross in recovery by any means. I don't think.
Right.
But like where I'm at personally, we've been going to this church for a couple of
A
years
lot of
now.
people get to that bridge though in recovery.
Right. We've been going to this church for a couple of years now, religiously. And I don't put a lot of pressure on myself about it. I really don't. But sometimes I go, can I buy into this? Can I fully sink my teeth into this?
I,
Or am
I,
I just gonna get the message this
I
week?
think I
You know?
shared, did I share it on the pod a week or two ago, a few weeks ago, that I was for a while for my meditations in the morning, I was doing the Gospel of Matthew audiobook. Did I share that on this pod?
I think you did, and you definitely told me on the side too, I think.
And it was like, it was really cool because it was like a lot of history, but there's some stuff, to your point, Corey, there's some stuff in there that I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Like I have
Right.
no idea what that really kind of means in the whole like spiritual life sense and biblical sense. If nothing else, then it's just like this weird translation of a historical text, But I mean, there's a lot of really good stuff in there, like about living life and being good to your enemy and forgiveness and yada yada yada. But some of it's just like I don't buy into all of it. Plain and simple. I definitely don't buy into all of it.
Yeah.
So
But I will
Yeah.
say this though too is I'm the same exact way, and I really enjoy. No, I don't go every single week. Maybe I should, but life gets in the way and whatever. But going to this church that we've been going to, like I just love the pastor. I've been around a lot of
Yeah.
preachers, and
yeah,
I've been
yeah,
around a lot of preachers
good
in the
distinction.
rooms of recovery, right? Like of people that just preach and preach and preach, and it's like, oh God, I can't wait for this to be over. And it's nothing like that. When this guy has such a unique kind of every man's way of breaking down the gospel and just talking to his, and come to find out, I'm not going to divulge any of his personal information, but he is most certainly one of us, which is kind of a cool thing to find out afterwards. But yeah, I like the way that he breaks stuff down. He's a very down to earth guy, and I can appreciate that when it comes to something like this that, yeah, for certainly for myself, like I've always been kind of wary of organized religion.
That's a very rare quality too. Just what you said, the difference between a preacher and a pastor, and some not to get the term because there are some preachers that also have that human way about them, very relatable. But you're right, for the most part, there's a lot of priests, pastors, preachers that it's like they're talking literally and figuratively from a pulpit and from this spiritual hilltop, and it doesn't seem relatable. It's a really rare quality when you can have one of those people that it's like, yo, he's just like me, you know. That's how our my shout out to Tom Clark, the guy who married us, you know, who's good friends of ours, and I mean, he's like the most down to earth, just like really, really cool dude. Like I could talk religious stuff with him all the time, you know, like all day long. He's an awesome dude. He's also fascinated by AA, which I think makes me respect him more. He's just fascinated by the whole process and procedure and like what we do, you know? So,
Yeah.
You know what fascinates me is people that like just kind of jumped on board the God train just naturally, like without being forced to take it by some sort of crisis.
But there's a lot of us that didn't go to the same rooms of recovery that we did. They went to church, you know, and it worked out for them, you know.
I'm just saying in general though, like any
like a normal person that didn't
spirituality.
have to destroy their life with drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I wouldn't be doing this stuff. Like I found it through the, you know, the crisis of addiction and everything, and it turned into something more. But like I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that, you know.
Yeah, but
definitely wouldn't be friends with you guys. But
yeah, but like I mean, that's like normal,
for sure.
Quote normal people have the same experiences that we have experiences with God and with faith or with anything. That one person goes to church and then all of a sudden something good happens in their life, and you know, on that day, and they think that's the reason. I mean, it's the same. You know, any kind of faith, religion, or any kind of, you know, that's what it's based on. You know what I mean? Right. That's why it just keeps rolling. It doesn't, you know, alcoholism or drug addiction or sex addiction or whatever, caffeine addiction. You know, it doesn't.
Anonymous.
Yeah. Whatever
Shout out to a wonderful producer and editor that might have a caffeine addiction.
J. Celsius.
But no, I'm
praying for you.
Though, like that's probably I like that you said that, Dan, because I think that's part of the human condition in all of us, right? I think in not just us alcoholics and addicts who like you said had to burn our lives down, but just every human being out there. I think at some point or another, like there's a hole in here somewhere where that needs filled by something that's not just worldly, you know, that there's something more that we're all searching for. So I think that has to be part of it. You know, it can't just be like, oh, well, my parents came here and their parents came here, and so I'm going to come here too, you know?
Yeah. It's a weird thing, dude, because like after, I don't know if you guys feel this way or not, but like you stay sober for an amount of years based on this like elementary idea of God, right? Where it was so simply put to us, like, hey, like, just, you know, it's just something greater than yourself. Like, we say all sorts of weird shit.
The old lampshade.
Yeah, whatever. Like, yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just like very, at least for me, like a very elementary idea of God. Like, okay, there was something that created all of this. Like, that was as much as I could define of it, right? And maybe we shouldn't be able to define God, right? But then you stay sober some years, and like, I found myself not too long ago just thinking, like, what the fuck do I actually believe? Like, I know that I have a relationship with something. That something has worked for years in my life. And when I'm staying close to that something, it works out pretty well. And I breathe fresh air, like I say. Not today, though. I'll breathe in that air. But, yeah, it's just
breathing
interesting.
That smog today.
Yeah, Chinatown.
Dude. Yep, I'm in China. China.
Yeah, but sometimes I think, like, during, like, if you're having crushing feelings like that, like, what do I believe? What do I really believe in? And it's, like, heavy. To me, I think sometimes I look no further than like just love, man, and not even like your own personal love, but like look at like just go find something out in the world where it's like, you know, like we went to some thing at the elementary school not too long ago for Peyton, and there's like this little girl in a wheelchair, and it was like a dance recital thing that they were doing, and this little girl was out there in her wheelchair just spinning around and having fun and dancing, you know, to the best that she could with all these other kids. And it was like, damn, dude, like I was like moved to tears from this little girl in a wheelchair. You know what I'm saying? And it was just like you know, something like that where I can just look at it in a very small sense and be like, there it is. Like, I don't know everything that I believe in, but I believe in that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Dude, 100%, man. I mean, I really like coaching, man. Like watching
Yeah.
watching these girls like get something. I mean, I can't like the feeling is it's not me. You know, when parents say, "Oh, you're doing such a good job," it's like, no, it's all the great. You know what I mean? Like all that stuff. Like, dude, when you see those moments, man, or it's like your kid or a Peyton doing that, you know what I mean? Like, dude, it gives you, for especially people like us, it's like that moment. It's like, man, freaking life's pretty freaking good. You know, like this is really every facet of life, man. Absolutely good. But I don't know if it was Sean, I don't know if it was you or, but I used to I remember I think it was like after like the first year or something like that. I forgot who I said it to, man, but I said the coolest thing right now is I don't have to ask why.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't have to ask why anymore. You know what I mean? Why this, why that? Like it's just, believe in something greater than yourself, man. And this is the all beckoning.
Yeah. Well, it
Right.
goes back to that notion of like, I loosen my grip on having to know the answer to everything. I'm okay not having the answer to everything anymore, right? I'm okay just to your point, Corey, just knowing that I do believe in something. Like that's enough.
Right.
And I'm not even sure it has to get much more complicated than that. I will say
Oh.
I have my the seeking of my spiritual life has gone through a lot of different channels and a lot of different, ups and not even ups and downs, but like I remember I took two theology classes and a philosophy class in college, and it was fascinating. Like I don't even know if it like really, I guess I shouldn't say it, it probably did spark my belief a little bit more and grow it a little bit, but it was just fascinating. It was just a really like, entertaining class, and I learned a lot from it, but I'm not so sure it has to be anything more than I believe, and I know something's out there. To your point, Greg, you see it in the little kids or the beautiful moments of life. That tattoo artist thing we read a few weeks ago.
Oh
Like
yeah,
just
100%.
reading that, the emotions that like that's God to me. Just being able to have those emotions. Corey, I know you don't cry. You cold-hearted son of a bitch,
I've
but
cried in front of you so many times.
I'm just kidding. I know I'm messing around. But like I think that right there, that like anything that stirs up that kind of emotion or even anything remotely close to that, I think it's God. I think it's God totally.
Yeah.
You know, Simple but not easy, right? A price had to be paid. It meant
Yeah. So
destruction of self-centeredness.
happy
Right.
Easter. There's your Easter tangent.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
good. No,
From
that was
Trudge
that was
Report.
good. That was very good. I guarantee we're not the only ones contemplating those ideas that listen to this podcast of our millions and millions of followers and listeners. Um, It's kind of a good segue, actually. Something that we haven't really talked about on this podcast too much is like how we actually help the new person, not just in terms of like mentorship and one-on-one, reading our literature with them and helping them work the program of recovery, but like I guess the best way to ask this question is put a scenario. Corey, your phone rings at 2:30 in the morning, and it is someone that needs a real deal help call. They need to go to detox. They're on the streets. They need to be, quote, for lack of a better word, rescued from whatever situation they're in and either gone to the hospital, halfway house, your own home, detox, treatment, Baker Act, jail, whatever it is. I want to talk about that process because I don't think we've ever really talked about it except maybe bits and pieces. What happens? What are some kind of key points, some things you would do, some things you were taught? How do you go about that process if that were the case? It doesn't have to be 2:30 in the morning, but I just use that as an example.
I'm probably terrible to talk about this. But so that has happened a couple of times.
It's happened to all of us.
We had some doozies, Corey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Maybe even just talk about those one of those experiences that you've had. Greg and I had one at a penthouse on the beach one night. Remember that, Greg?
I was so angry.
I just remember it smelled like fish.
Angry.
Ugh.
Joey,
It was bad.
Joey, shout out to Joey T. I won't say his last name. Joey T was cooking pan frying fish
It was a mess.
and drunk as a skunk.
He was cooking light switches.
At like 1 a.m. too, if I remember correctly, right?
Oh yeah.
That's the thing, dude. So I was
Sorry,
just
go,
about
Corey.
to say, no, you're good. I was just about to say that, like, They don't ever call at like 5:30 p.m. They fucking call at midnight.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, here's the next 5 hours of my life, whatever it takes. Been on some late ones, and I don't know, dude. The process, the one thing I can think to mention when somebody reaches out for help at an ungodly hour or at a regular business hour, is I don't go to help that person alone. I try to grab somebody else that's sober, and seemingly stable.
Real quick, why is that? That's because that's one of the most important things.
You know what?
Give us a couple reasons why.
Honestly, I would say it's more for the accountability than it is for like, hey, make sure you tap me if you see me start sweating because I'm looking at a bottle or something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's necessarily to protect our sobriety. I don't think it's that necessarily, because we're beyond human aid. I'm not saying that maybe it would help. I don't know. But I do think that for me, it's also probably a safety thing too, to be honest. But
I think safety's more,
For me, it's about accountability too, because I've been called to a hotel room at 12:30 at night, and me and my buddy Kyle went over there and, essentially had to flush drugs, and we could both sit there and say that the drugs went down the toilet, and there was no fucking question about where the drugs went. You know what I mean? Right. It's just like a accountability thing. But
we're stronger in numbers.
Yeah, and like safety thing. Like I don't want to do that alone anyway. Especially with somebody, if I'm going to help somebody that I don't really know that well. Right. So yeah, that's the number one thing is grab somebody else in sobriety. The other thing I'd say is like, at least for me, I try to make it a like we're gonna go from point A to point B. You know what I mean? There's not gonna be. I'm not really going out to convince somebody to do anything. Like if I'm getting called somewhere, that person is hopefully reaching out for help already.
And they're going to do whatever they're instructed to do, essentially.
Yeah, like this is what we're going to do. Yeah. If there's any bullshit, then you can just stay here.
I'm not stopping at your girlfriend's house. I'm not stopping, I might need to stop at the store. But that's another part of this. But I'm not stopping at your homeboy's house. I'm not stopping at your job to get your last paycheck or to get this or to get your car, anything like that.
Well, and 100%. And that same one that I just mentioned about the drugs getting flushed or whatever, dude, that started out because the girlfriend reached out to me and was like, hey, so-and-so wants to go to treatment. And, like I said, of course, it's 12:30 at night. And we're like, all right, let me see if Kyle's around. So we go and we get there and we knock on the guy's hotel room and he's like, what the fuck are you guys doing here? And we're like, we're here to bring you to treatment, dickhead. Mm-hmm. And, it was fine. Like we ended up talking to him and he had agreed to go. It wasn't like I didn't have to sit there for 20 minutes and convince him. It was just like hey, well, she said you were ready to go. And he's like, well, yeah, and he ended up and then more unfolded later. But yeah, like I want to go from point A to point B. I don't want to, and actually, who kind of like instilled that in me is our friend Bill, not the old co-host.
Bill W.
Oh, B-Dub.
And because he took me on one once and he told me, he said, we're not fucking around. That's what he was like, we're not doing any bullshit. He's getting in the car or we're leaving.
Yeah.
And I said, okay.
I've been on a couple with him too. It's very similar.
So yeah, I mean, those would be the big things. And like, whatever it is, if we're taking them to like a recovery group, dropping them back off, or if we're taking them to a detox, like they just need to be willing. And if they're not, then like I'm not gonna work harder than they are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm not gonna get into this, but we had that same guy that night. He got in somewhere, got him in somewhere at 2 a.m. whatever, and that ended up being, and he found a way to get himself out the next morning. Like,
right.
The hell, But that's stuff.
Danny, what about you? Any experiences with that kind of stuff? Any tips, tricks, anything like that?
My biggest tip trick was 10 minutes. So like obviously you go with someone else, but you go in there and first of all, point A to point B, but you can't just go in there. For me anyways, my experience is into point A. You know what I mean? Because that could be a turnoff where you just go in, you have a normal conversation at first, and then you eventually say, all right, this is what we're doing. And if they don't want to do it, then you leave. It was 10 minutes. 10 minutes was always the rule. That's you go in and you try to lighten the conversation like I would do if I had a problem with somebody. I don't go in and say what the problem is and come right at their face. You know what I mean? Is that you try to set the mood and the tone, and then you try to ask them and and tell them, hey, this is what we're doing. You need to get help. We're doing this. You don't want to do it, and then you leave. That's like one thing that I was told, and also just who I am, man. I can't do the Bill W. You know, this is what the fuck we're doing. Otherwise, I'm out of here. You know, to me, that's just like I don't know. I feel like I can go a step further and give someone 10 minutes, and if they, you know, if they come, cool, and if they don't, then I'll leave. But yeah, bringing somebody is huge, and for me, bringing somebody was huge, and I was explaining to the fact of bringing someone's huge because left to our own reconnaissance, we make the wrong decision a lot of times. You know, so having another person to bounce the things off that are coming at you, or what the situation is, or what we should be doing, or like the 10 minutes thing, or too much conversation, or whatever it is left to my own devices. You know what I mean? Without having, you know, I got God and I got me, but I love to have another person that's in the same feet as me, you know, same sobriety as me, that can have someone to bounce something off of, you know, just like I do in any problem in life when I call other people or ask you guys or anything, you know, where I always want to have someone else there, you know, to make sure I'm in the right path and I'm right in line with everything. Experiences wise, yeah, I mean, I'll always pick up my phone late night, man. I'll always pick up my phone no matter what. But I mean, late night, I'll always, it doesn't matter what time it is or who it is or when it is or where it is. And I'll always. And then the only time I would come, no matter what, by myself would be if it was a safety issue and I would call the police on the way. That's the only time that I would come by myself. Is if there was some kind of like home abuse or some kind of situation going on and stuff like that, that I would call the police and I would start heading there by myself. That's the only thing where there's not time for I was told that, you know what I mean? If there's not time for someone to join the bandwagon or someone might be harmed or something like that, you call the police and you can head over there right away. But yeah, I mean that was pretty much, you know, all the experiences that I had, you know, or whether it's you got to stop at the gas station, stop at your girlfriend's, you know, we're not doing all that stuff.
Yeah, we're not doing all that.
Yeah, we're not doing all that, man. I remember picking up a couple kids from I think it was the strip club.
Sensations. I remember that one.
Oh yeah. They burned cigarette burns in my car and stuff like that, dude. Yeah. And I had the bandana on the front. It's like, yo, you in the gang, son? yeah. But I mean, yeah, that, you know, point A to point B, man. It's you know, we're making 87 stops and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, the biggest difference I would say is 10 minutes, man. I at least give a little settle down to to what the, you know, because it's a lot of times it's heightened already because they know what's happening. You know what I mean? So it's kind of just like a come down, you know what I mean? And then this is the deal, and then I'm out. You know, that's pretty much it for me.
Greg, I know you've had some of these experiences, especially in the managerial position you were at the halfway house. You know.
Well, and then that way it's kind of almost different because it's my job. I have to get up and go, you know. But what I was gonna say is yeah, like I've done a lot of them, and even from the working in the treatment aspect and with the halfway houses aside, there was a good stretch there of I want to say like 6 to 9 months where our good friend Brian Beatty, for whatever reason, I was like the one that he would be calling, like, hey, I'm gonna be at your house in 10 minutes. We gotta go. We got something to, you know, and you know, of course I'm irritated at it then. And now I'm like, oh man, what an honor that was, you know. But yeah, it's drastically important, I think. I mean, look, there's no textbook to this, but our literature is pretty straightforward on what it is that we do in these kind of situations. What there is no textbook for is what you're going to get on the other end. You know, what are you walking into? Nobody really knows. So I've had I've had a lot of them that, you know, you turn out when you get there, it's kind of like Dan said, you sit there, you try and, talk to them. You try to, you know, de-escalate any kind of situations that are going on. You know, sometimes you're walking into the wife's pissed about to throw them out. Mom and dad are at their wits' end. Everybody's crying, everybody's yelling, screaming. And it can sometimes be a very volatile situation. Other times it's just a dude reached out because he's drinking himself to death and he's thinking about swallowing a bullet. And, you know, like that's scary too. You don't know what you're walking into. So I think that, yeah, like trying to talk to him, trying to de-escalate it and trying to like, hey, is there a plan at the end of this? Because if there's not, like, hey, you just got you got a little bit more pain to go through, brother. Like, but we're willing to help you right now. But yeah, I don't necessarily have any boundaries or qualms with answering my phone late at night. I'll answer for anybody. Um, I'm not always, like I'll answer the phone calls like after a certain point. Like I'm in bed. I'm not sitting here messing around with text messages and looking at my phone every
No, it's
30
got to be a phone
seconds.
call.
Right?
Yeah, always it's got to be a
But
phone
yeah,
call.
if
Yeah.
if I get a call, especially at a certain hour, like I know it's something serious, and I got to pop up for it, and it just is what it is. But yeah, having a plan, and the big thing is I think this is why it's vitally important to have somebody else's, because the accountability of not just like Corey was talking about, like, yeah, if there's shit here and we got to flush it or whatever, but I think it's just the being able to work with a partner, in that kind of scenario. And hey, we're not gonna tolerate all this like victim woe is me shit, like because undoubtedly that's what you're going to walk into in a
Right.
lot of these situations is, oh, this and this happened and this is why this is like this, and it's every other reason under the sun except that person's fault, right? And there is, I think, a fine line on how you deal with that right there then in that moment, because of course you don't want to make somebody so upset that they're just going to do something drastic, and at the same time too you don't want to play into any of their BS. So there's a fine line there, and I think it always works better with two people. But yeah, the goal is, hey, let's get you in somewhere tonight. Let's go to a recovery group. Let's sit there for an hour. You drink a little bit of coffee, sober up, get your right mind about you, or at least somewhat, and then let's take you to detox. Let's get you going.
Yeah, I try to get a lot of those preliminary things out of the way, before I even leave the house or leave wherever I'm at. Usually there's a conversation on the phone with the sick and suffering, and it's like, hey, I'm willing to come get you at, 5 o'clock or whatever time I got to, or right now. But like, are you truly willing to go to detox or treatment, or are you absolutely ready to get some help? Because I'm not coming, if you just want to sit and, give me the runaround. I do think that in like old school recovery, they did go before the evolution of treatment centers and detoxes, when they still had just kind of hospitals and you just got put on the same floor of a hospital with all the other mentally ill people. A lot of times they would just go to the person's house or business or whatever it was, and they would sit with them for sometimes hours, and not just not just talk, but like actually try to detox them, right? And I remember I had an experience when I was living with Papa Ron. Shout out to Papa Ron, R.I.P. Um, I was living with him, and I was still working part time. So I remember I was taking it was like a Saturday afternoon. I was taking an afternoon nap, and I had to have either been in my first, almost like a little less than a year sober, or just over a year sober, because I didn't move in with him till over 7 months sobriety after the halfway house. But I'll never forget, I woke up that, late afternoon, early evening from a nap. Was planning on probably just going to a meeting that night. And I remember walking out in the living room and didn't have my glasses on. And I could hear this voice, and it said, "Hey, Shawnee." And it was this guy, Jimmy, who was from New York. Thick New York accent, had been around. One of those guys that we see in recovery, though, like, you never really know how much time sober they have. You know what I'm talking about? Like, you can tell that the person's been around recovery for a long time. That's not in question, but like, they never really talk about their sobriety date. They never really mention it like hard and like an actual like, but for all intents and purposes, Jimmy had been around the rooms for a while, and I thought he had some time, but like the more I got to know him, there was very real possibility that he had had some relapses in between all this time. But he was at our house, drunk as a skunk, like drunk as a skunk. I could hear it in his voice before I even could see him because I didn't have my glasses on. And somehow he had called Ron, and Ron had gotten him to the house, and he was drunk and he was bloated and just Billy distended. I mean, he really was, in bad shape. And Ron's son Butch and Lyle and this guy Mike R. I won't say his last name, Mike R. came over, and I got to watch how an actual home, you know, sober call was done, like how they detoxed him and weaned him off of alcohol. Didn't go to treatment, didn't go to detox, and he stayed at our house for like 2 days. And I had to go to the store with Lyle and get a bottle of oh, what was it? Wild Irish Rose, I think it was one of those
Oof.
like rot gut stuff.
Oof.
And I watched them give him just a little bit every few hours to wean him down, and for the seizures and the medical stuff. And he stayed at our house that night, and he stayed the entire next day, and I think he stayed one more night. And we went to a meeting the next day. I think we went to a couple meetings the next day, and then we just take him back to the house. And then I remember Ron and I dropped him back off at his apartment. He had a little apartment. And that was not the last sober call on this man over the years. As a matter of fact, Brian Beatty and I did one sometime down the road later, and I'll never forget. We showed up at his house, and we could it was like a one of those prefabricated trailers, like whatever you call them, and so you can hear everything, walk. And he was a pretty big man too. Um, and we could hear him like bouncing around and like bumping into things in the house, trying to come to the door. And like we're waiting, and all of a sudden we just heard the front door bam, just smashed. Like he had fallen over. He was coming to the door, and he had just fallen over and just crashed into the door. And like we like got in there, and he was like on the floor. And that time we had to call the actual paramedics. But Jimmy died. Jimmy did not stay sober. Jimmy died a few years later. Complications related to alcohol and other abuse to his body. But those were also like, here's the thing. I'll never forget those experiences. Those were hugely, hugely impactful on my life, right? And Jimmy was a guy that knew our literature a little bit, and I would sit with him, and he taught me a lot about our literature and the history of our recovery program and stuff like that. So very interesting. Couldn't stay sober, very cryptic kind of guy, but hugely impactful. So it's crazy. I remember Ron said once he had a guy grab the steering wheel. Him and another guy named Brian, this older guy named Brian that was good friends. They picked up this guy to take him to detox, a guy that used to own a halfway house in the area, and he had sold it and stepped out of the halfway house business, but he couldn't stay sober. He had been sober for a while, then couldn't stay sober, and they picked him up to take him to detox. And he reached through, he was sitting in the back, and Brian and Ron, I think Ron was driving, reached up over the front and tried to grab the steering wheel while they were on the road. And like, so shout out to having two people in the vehicle.
Yeah, that's true. And we can pray for that individual and try to help them all we want. It would be really hard not to take them out of the car and beat the shit out of them after that, though.
Well, I think they did. I think they did, quote, restrain him a little bit.
Welcome to detox, son.
Yeah, motherfucker. Try to kill me. I'm trying to help you, dude.
There were some moments in that high-rise penthouse that Sean was talking about earlier that had me almost.
Greg almost threw somebody over the effing balcony.
Yeah, we almost Suge Knight their ass, but no.
I'll say this:
I went on
one of those people. One of those people in that high-rise, Greg, I saw last night, who is sober multiple years now. Can't say the same for the other two, but.
Oh, okay. So, all right. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, I went on one once. I can't name any names, man, because he probably listens to this. But I went on one time, and it was a friend. So, friend needed help, and he'd been in and out. When we got there, he was coked out of his brain, barricaded in a room, wearing a kimono. And there were like actual ninja swords, like legit ninja swords, like up on the wall in the room. And it was nerve wracking the whole time. We had to just put a body in between this coked out man in a kimono and the ninja swords, because who knows what we're all going to end up on some true crime show here in a minute. But I don't think he didn't stay sober that time, but I think he's doing well now. So.
His own TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. What do you Dan, I'll kick this back over to you. What do you the question will probably take you off guard. The question is, what is the best piece of advice you've been given or received about our recovery program? And maybe not the best, but just something that stands out that either has been given to you and maybe you've passed it on, or in the off chance that you came up with something original, that any of us could come up with something original. What's one of the best pieces of advice, sayings, experiences that you've had, or something that's impactful?
Yeah. First, zero thing that's original for me. No chance. You know, everything. I mean, dude, I repeat stuff every single day that like helps my life. You know what I mean? I really do.
Yeah.
Oh man, most impactful, dude. Oh, that's a.
Or just something that stands out, something that you
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah, I mean, really, dude, like a really, I mean, just a huge statement. Statement, as Corey said in our group text, man, doesn't need to be said, doesn't need to be said now, doesn't need to be said by me. I mean, that's like a really, honestly, dude, like something like that. I mean, that really, like it was like a total game changing thing. But also, honestly, I would say, honestly, like doing, doing the stuff of helping other people that are sick and suffering, as a life lesson, on how you treat people and how your feet have to match your mouth. Like that's the biggest thing that I think I've been taught is that always pretend like someone's watching you.
Yeah.
God is always watching. And that's something that I've carried with me that has caused me to be a better person in situations when no one is around me. You know what I mean? Because we all, like we said, no one's perfect. You know what I mean? We all mess up. That's just part of life and that's just, but more often than not, I always act like someone's watching me because someone told me that always act as if. And that's probably the most impactful thing that I have in my life.
What about you, Greg?
Shut up and listen. I think probably. And I think that can go for a lot of things, not just for newcomers and beginners, but for all of it, man. I think we all have an internal monologue rolling. Sometimes I think we all can be judgmental in certain situations. I think we can all view things through our own perspective and not take a step outside of ourselves to try and think about what somebody else is going through, what their perspective is on a certain thing. So I think if we do that kind of stuff and just shut up and listen, I think we are much more on a human to human level, and we interact with each other better. We interact with our creator a whole lot better. And I think we are much, much more useful to our brothers and sisters.
Nice. Corey?
It's something that you say a lot, Sean, and probably Ron said, and many other people have said. Our feet must exceed our mouths.
Mm-hmm.
I think, God, I think us being flawed drug addicts and alcoholics, it is extremely easy to show up and look the part and talk the part and talk a good game and become the coolest person, or at least we might think the coolest person in the room. And we've collected a group of people who we've helped get sober, or the people that we helped get sober, they helped other people get sober. And there's this collective group in the room of people who wouldn't be here if I wasn't here. And it becomes like a status.
Yeah.
And I think we can get lost in that sometimes. Just generally speaking. So I think it's important for us to be obviously doing the real work that matters, the stuff that people don't see, more than we're talking about what we do.
Yeah. What is it? Do something nice and don't tell anybody about it.
Yeah. Don't tell anybody about 99% of the shit you do. And the other 1%, only use that as an example.
Right. I think we've talked about the whole when things are going good, double down on your spiritual life. When things are going bad, double down on your spiritual life. That was a Papa Ronism. There's no salary cap on how good this SHIT can get for you. That was something he said to me that I think he totally just made up on the fly, and it was one of the most impactful things to me. But one thing that stood out is actually not even from anyone in our program. It was an old this receptionist at my old job when I worked in hospitality management. She was not in recovery, but she was the stepdaughter of a woman who worked in treatment and was sober in one of our other fellowships, not necessarily the ones that we frequent. But she said to me one day, she's like, "Oh, I came across this quote. I think you would love it." I don't know where she got it, but it was essentially, and I have it written in my recovery book, and I have her name next to it because she's the one that told me. But it was the real measure, the real true measure of sobriety is in the lengths we will go to help the next sick and suffering alcoholic, or drug addict or whatever. And that always, that like, you know, in that point in my life, whatever it was, just hit me big time, you know? So a lot of good stuff. We could have we could have a cool episode on just like little one-liners and little sayings and little quips and stuff that we've heard through the years. So very good, guys. Great show tonight. Good to have the band back together. I feel like Corey was traveling last week.
It's been a while. Yeah.
The week before that, Dan, you were traveling. It's nice to have everybody.
Yeah.
Getting the band back together, Corey. What do you think about that, buddy?
I think I'm about to go find a crack rock.
Okay, well,
on that note, some fresh air after this.
On that note, I'll be over in 10 minutes, Corey, to help you get to detox.
You need some raw ginger.
You mean help me look for the crack rock in my carpet, right?
Yeah, to quote detox. Shout out to our listeners. Please like, follow, and share on all socials at Trudge Report Pod. Email us trudgereportpod@yahoo.com. Send in your mailbag requests for topics, questions, and comments to any of these handles. Remember, we are all here. If anyone wants to talk about recovery and our experiences, or if you are struggling with some form of addiction, thank you again to Janine and Stella Mix Podcast Management. Good night, God bless, and may you trudge the road of happy destiny. We will see you next week. Cheers.